You ever ordered a wholesale bundle before and thought to yourself when it arrived that this is not grade A? Or maybe you've been on the other side of it where you've listed an item and then when the buyer received it, they messaged you to let you know that it wasn't what they expected. Both of these problems come from the same thing, and that is inconsistent grading, and today we are going to fix that. Hi Fleek family, hope you're all well. My name's Chloe, I'm the owner of Retro Clothes Shop, and today we're talking about grading. This video is all about understanding clothing grades when you're buying from wholesale suppliers or literally just buying to resell clothing online. And this is crucial when it comes to listing any piece on Depop and Vinted. So whether you've just started reselling, you haven't started reselling yet, or you've been reselling for a very long time, then this video is for you. Inconsistent grading is generally one of the biggest friction points when it comes to vintage reselling because it erodes trust, creates returns, and makes it really hard for you as a reseller to scale your business. So let's talk about what grade A, B, and C all mean, and by the end of this video, you should have all the knowledge that you'll need when you're next sourcing. First things first, why is vintage grading so inconsistent? Because in reselling, there is no universal rulebook. And something you need to know about the reseller world is that every single supplier that you meet will always set their own standard when it comes to grading. So basically that means that one supplier's grade A is somebody else's grade B, and so on and so on. And this is just the reality of an unregulated system. And this essentially means that you cannot rely on grading labels only when it comes to sourcing. What you need to do is understand what you're getting for each single grade. So that means that you need to be clear on what grading actually means. You need to know what you're going to expect from each grade and then cross-reference it to what the supplier says. And where possible, you need to use platforms that offer a grading system or a guide up front that you can read through before you even start to buy from the platform. Which brings me to talk about Fleek Vintage Wholesale. I source most of my denim waistcoats on Fleek, and it really is the most ethical way to source clothing now. It's also the most fastest and reliable source I use. One of the things I really love about Fleek is the fact that they have their own grading guidelines published on the website. You can go and check these out today using the link in the description box below. They also have these within the app as well. The best thing about Fleek is the fact that you can actually filter by grade. There is a drop down within the app. I will show you here, and it's amazing because you can actually filter by the grades that you're actually looking for. You'll be searching for anything within the app, and basically what you can do is filter by grade. The only way you can find the best stock on Fleek is to literally start using the filters, and the grade and the exact bundle filter are two of my most favored options right now. Alright, that's all linked down in the description box if you want to go and check that out. And if you've never tried Fleek out before, I recommend that you go and try it out today. There is a link in the description so you can download the app or even just start shopping on the website today. Alright, so this brings me now to talk about what does grade A mean. Grade A is pull out and sell quality. That's pretty much what it is. It's ready to go. Might just need a wash from being sat in the warehouses for a long time. But majority of the time, grade A is the best quality with zero flaws, which is something you need as a reseller to make the most profit. You would essentially open the bundle, hold the piece up, and it would be ready to photograph. You might need a wash, but it's ready to go. Basically, what I'm saying is there's no repair work to do on it. There's no hesitation. It's just a really good gold piece that's ready to go. Now, does vintage wear count as a defect? Because I get this question a lot. And the answer is not inherently. Think about it like this. Fading denim jeans, or that really slow, really nice wash that's been worn for a long time, or that nice fading to a nice graphic t-shirt. That's character, and that is what people are buying. Everybody knows that secondhand clothes are not new. They're buying a character and somebody's story. Now the question is, what takes something out of grade A territory and pull it into the sort of grade B and C territory? And that would mean that there would be stains, holes, missing buttons. There might be a rip, completely unwearable pieces. It could even be heavy bobbling or pilling as well. That can happen. And sometimes it's just like a smell that will not wash out. So that's where it becomes not grade A anymore. These in the reselling world is what is known as a defect. My rule is if I have to flag a defect in the listing, then that's not grade A anymore. Grade A pieces of clothing should let you write solid, clean, clear, flowing descriptions with no defects involved. Also be able to list them as very, very good condition. So with that said, if you are a beginner or looking for a high volume stock with a faster turnover and a higher turnover, then grade A is your best friend. Grade A, there is a higher cost price because there's a lower sorting time, which means that there's less risk when buying. That leads me to talk about grade B products. Now, this is the question, what is the difference between a grade A product versus a grade B product? So if you are new to the reselling world, these are key pieces of information to take away. So grab a pen and paper and write this down. Grade B clothing will have minor flaws. There is good quality overall, but there might be some repair potential there. You might just need to repair a few pieces, whether it's a button that's missing or a zip that's broken. You might just need to make these few adjustments before you hit the platforms like Depop and Vinted and eBay. Basically, sometimes you can just repair it with a patch or darn it. It's usually quite fixable and it's not going to drastically affect your profit either. How should you describe grade B in your listings? So when it comes to the condition, you need to be honest about everything. And I've said this before, but the description is basically what's going to sell your listing. So make sure that you're honest because it does create buyer trust. If there's a small mark next to the collar or there's a small hole or there's a button missing, just literally say reflected in price within the description so that the buyer knows that you have taken this into accountability. The best part about this is the fact that the buyer will know that something's wrong with the item before it arrives and they're prepared to pay that money because you've already stated it. And that transparency is basically what is going to stop you getting disputes and returns when the buyer receives their order. How much should you discount for defects? That's a really good question, and it's one that we're going to get into. There is no real fixed rule in how to do this, but this is what I would recommend to you right now. If a grade A piece would sit at about £25, that's great, okay? But if we're looking at a grade B piece of the same piece, but there's a button missing or there's a hole, that might actually go down now to about £18 to £20. You might even be looking a little bit less if you're taking offers as well. And you're still going to make your profit back. You're still going to make your margin because you're being accurate. And that is the most important part. And not just that, but grade B is amazing for upcycling. If you're really into reworking your own clothes or making your own clothes, then grade B is a cheaper option for you. And to be honest, most of the time, you're going to find some amazing pieces just a little bit cheaper than grade A. So if you can take a piece that is broken and maybe darn it, add a patch, sew it back together, add a zip, do something really quirky with it and really make it your own, then the price value on that can literally go from less to more because it's more authentic, it's more unique, and it becomes a handmade item as well. If you've got these techniques and you have these skills, please start using them in your reselling businesses because sometimes the demand for these more crazy one-off pieces do so much better than the average generic piece ever would. So just note that these techniques will turn lower grade pieces into higher average sale price points. Because what you're doing is turning a garment that had low potential into something that's highly perceived now in its value and it's more sought after. It's still worth building this up, especially if you can rework these pieces, because they do become something really special, and usually that's what the buyer's buying into. When we move on to grade C, I just want to talk a little bit about ripped and distressed denim products. I have a lot of denim products behind me. It is my niche. I've bought a bundle, let's say, of denim products that do have these ripped, flawed edges to them. They're technically not flawed because ripped jeans are always in style and sometimes when they have that kind of character to them. So it's just about knowing what sells well and understanding that if you do buy stuff with holes, if it's denim for example, maybe make the hole bigger to make it look like it's supposed to be there, and just rework it where you can because there's always different options that you can do with clothing. And if you've got that creative, artistic flair to it as well, I'm sure that you'll be able to turn it into something that somebody else will love. So with that said, your job is to read the garment and read the market, and then just price and list accordingly to that. That's what you need to do. And if you can do that, then you will be on the road to success. I will say though, context matters more than any label ever would. So always, always be clear in your descriptions when you are writing them to upload to the platforms. All right, I think that brings me on to grade C now. Grade C is the territory where most people, resellers, will dismiss too early and too quickly because these pieces are the pieces with the most significant damage. Because there's more repairs to do, there's more marking down on the price as well, and there's more work that goes into getting a grade C piece up online for your shoppers, buyers to purchase. And also it's just significant work for you as a reseller to restore all of these pieces in time. And if you can do it, I applaud you. I think it's amazing, especially if you can take old denim jeans and turn them into a bag or a tote bag. That would be incredible. And I know that Fleek are working on this as well, and they have done this. So it is possible. It just takes a lot of work and a lot of time. So it's just knowing who you are, what you're doing, where your time's spent, and really focusing on what actually is your priority right now. With that said, Grade C has a lot of potential, so let's get into it. Grade C actually keeps clothing out of landfill because there's a market for it. I've seen this with my own eyes. As I've said, Fleek literally are doing this right now. There are artists, curators, fashion designers, students who are literally upcycling pieces of clothing from these rag houses overseas, and they're making products out of scraps of material that could never be worn again, and they actually make them into pieces and garments and bags and t-shirts, and yeah, there's a lot of potential with it. But basically what they're doing is taking something that could never be worn, turning it into something new, and getting it back into the sort of retail market, which I think is so beautiful, and I think it's something that we all need to do. There's also a lot of community repair workshops that go along as well, and craft nights, and there's also a lot of communities as well where they are upcycling clothes, and there's a lot of upcycling workshops. So Grade C has a market, that's for sure. Grade C products, there is a lower margin, so this means that your cost price is much lower, but there is a higher workload to do for you as a reseller or upcycler or artist in order to get these pieces back up and running again. If sustainability is part of your brand, then Grade C is a story worth telling. Yeah, I would say that, and I think there is definitely a market there for it. Grade C is never out the picture because there's always something, and there's always something of value that gets added to the world when we speak about Grade C clothing. That said, when should you reject an item completely? And this just comes down to if it's got mold, if it's just completely deteriorating and falling apart, and you can't mend it in any other way, that would probably be a sign to let it go. Honestly, that is such a small percentage that you'll see with Grade C clothing. If it's a really nice material like denim or cotton, it's going to last a long time, and you can always rework it into new things as well. All right, that concludes all the grades. So let's talk about my sourcing process for retro clothes shop. So I want to tell you a story that happened to me a few years ago. This was a few years ago. This was before I found Fleek. This was before I found the wholesale suppliers I'm working with today. And I actually bought a Grade B bundle from a wholesaler, completely blind. I told them what I wanted. Yeah, and it's a bit of a horror story, but I'm gonna get into it. I suppose it came down to the fact that I thought I knew what I was getting, and when it arrived, it was not that at all. I actually spent £500 as an investment into this bundle, this bale of clothing, and 50% of what arrived was actually unsellable, and I had to fix all of the garments. And I wasn't really prepared to fix 50% of that order. I really wanted to be able to just pull the pieces out, photograph them, list them, and sell them. So that was more work for me on the back end of things, and I actually lost a little bit of that investment. From that experience that I had, it taught me a lot. And this was in my early days of reselling. This was before I bought waistcoats. So I actually have learned from that, I suppose. Now completely changed how I actually source clothing. So what I tend to do is I will do a mood board first that looks something like this. I'll always look at video footage of the listing in really clear detail, even if I have to screenshot the pieces and zoom in and out. That's what I'm going to do because my brand is worth that. Also screenshot the grade that's inside the listing as well before I check out, so that that's clear to me exactly what I'm buying, and the grading as well. And I will do all of that before I check out because that's the most important. As long as you can see what you're getting, understand the grade of it, and then check out with that order, you'll know exactly what's going to be arriving at your door. A lot of the time, the supplier will hide all of the grading and everything towards the bottom, so just bear that in mind. But make sure that you read the description, you look at the videos, you check the photos, check everything before you check out, because you need to know that that stock is going to be really good quality stock for your shop, because at the end of the day, you need to profit from this. Now, the biggest question is, how do I know if a wholesale listing looks accurate? What you need to do is look for the suppliers that have their own listing grading breakdown inside the description. A little bit like Fleek's condition guide as well, that's all integrated into the app and the website. Because essentially what this means is they are held to a standard which is so important when it comes to reselling. They have to abide by that. If you write to a supplier and they can't tell you what each grade means in their own words, then that is your first red flag of reselling. Alright, really quickly, we've got our bale now. How do we photograph and list these items and list them with the defects online if there is any? As long as you've taken photographs of everything, you've listed it correctly, you've included all of the defects in the description as well, and you've told your buyer that, there's nothing else you need to do other than the fact that you might need to just alter the conditions. So if it's on vinted or depop, just put good or satisfactory depending on the condition of the garment. Just price it to sell. That's what I do, price it to sell, because at the end of the day, if it has got a defect in there and you can't fix it or make it look a little bit different, just be honest about that and maybe pull the price down where you can, because a faster flip where you're going to make profit is better than an item sat around for ages. Right then, so we're going to summarize this video. Grade A is basically your bread and butter. This is something that is ready to go. It's gold. There's nothing you need to do with it. Grade B is your opportunity to repair and upcycle the stock, and it's got a very good potential. You're still going to make a lot of profit there. Grade C is your specialist stock for the right buyer in the right context. And ripped or distressed denim, that's just on its own terms, and it's something that is really trendy and adds character to the garment as well. Your goal isn't to only ever just buy grade A pieces. Your goal is to know what you're buying, what your buyers are buying, describe it correctly, and then be honest and basically just give everything to the buyer that they need before checking out, just like how you would when you're buying from wholesale. That is exactly how you build a grading system and a business that scales on volume, not just look. The link below so you can check out the Fleek app and also Fleek's grading system as well. As always, if this video has helped you in any way, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you're new, like the video, and turn the bell notification on so that you never miss when we post. Thank you ever so much for watching, and now that you know how to grade stock, you'll be on your way to buying your first bundle and make your first sales. So much for watching, everyone. We'll see you in the next video.